Hi everyone, and welcome to another Dr. Fantastic Interviews. I've got a fascinating young lady online, and what city are you in, Anna?
I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut, the East Coast. A little bit cold there, isn't it?
Well, we had snow yesterday, and it's freezing today.
So is it Raimondi is a proper pronunciation?
It is Raimondi.
And Anna Raimondi. And you are a published author, a lecturer, traveling. We're going to meet in person in a week or so at the 17th Annual Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. I'm looking forward to that. And today we're going to they're always casual, fun conversations. And I'm curious as the day is long about everyone I meet and everything about life. So I'm just a curious guy. So, Anna, tell me, first let's talk about you as a person, how you got into what you do and what you love.
Well, I'm a medium, and so in my case, it was from birth. I'm a born medium. So I was always able to feel, to see, to hear those on the other side. And I was very fortunate because I was born to two people who, although they were hardcore Roman Catholic, totally accepted this. And, kind of helped me develop it by exposing me to people who wanted to, I guess, kind of tap into me at a very young age. Now, my life kind of went off from there. I have a bachelor's in clinical psychology. I have 4 degrees in counseling, including grief counseling, and I have an MBA. So, and all these things that I've learned are become part of my toolbox to help other people.
That's beautifully put, because me as a motivational speaker without any education, I feel the 79 professions I've worked in lend me to give the advice that I give, which is more of a commonsensical advice than a clinical advice. Follow me?
Mm-hmm. I do.
And now let's talk about
sometimes the clinicals shake hands. Sometimes the clinicals shakes hands with the common sense too.
Yeah, I was born with more common sense than you could shake a stick at. But I want to hear about heaven, because I believe that, with all the souls that I've been come in contact with, including my parents, that have passed, are some kind looking out after me, because you only have a certain amount of years on the rock. And after that, I don't know where we go. I always felt that, in my opinion, I'll give you my opinion on heaven and hell, okay? My opinion is that when you have your time on the rock, you should do good and live a full life and be happy and be positive and do great. Because after you're gone, I don't know where you go, but if there's eternity and you get to look back on your time on the rock and you see that you're a good person, that you gave, that you lived a full life, that's heaven. Now, the person that said, I'm going to never party, I'm not going to spend any money, I'm going to save all my money, and at 40 I'm going to retire and have a good 60 years in retirement playing golf, let's say. And that person dies in an auto accident at 39 and a half, I think he's in hell because he missed out in 39 years of living and enjoying life on the rock. So that's my little layman's term of heaven and hell. Now I want to hear your heaven.
Okay. Well, my view on heaven is not only based upon what I hear from those in that place we call heaven, but also based upon what Mother Mary has told me. I wrote a book called Conversations with Mary, where I asked her questions, and that was one of my questions. Heaven is another dimension. So we're in one dimension, and heaven is right in front of us in another dimension. And those in that dimension are very close to us. We've all heard on the other side of the veil. That's pretty much what it is a thin veil between the two dimensions. People like me, who have no fear of connecting to that side, can bring through those people and bring through the messages. Heaven is a place of peace and love, unconditional, like we've never felt before. So when you talk about a 39-year-old dying, if you look at it from heaven is the cake at the birthday party, it's hard for us to conceptualize, but we live to die. every moment we're here, we live to die. So that 39-year-old, given he had a good life, got the cream on the cake, got it. He got the reward, his soul completed whatever his soul needed to complete. And so he's living in a place that has no animosity, no pain, no hate. It's only pure love. Hell, on the other hand, is quite different. I have not been shown hell as a place of fire and brimstone. Hell is a state of mind. So hell is a place where people who, people have to see this movie of their life when they first pass, and people who are good kind of move on to the next level. People who are not so good have to see, just like everybody, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. And if they're really bad, they have to, they have to hang out there and kind of understand why they were that way, And there are some people who were horrific, like Hitler, who is still there, watching. The soul cringes because we're born good. We're born as an extension of divinity. And when we cross that because of free will, we hurt the soul. And we hurt everybody else around us because it spreads. So that would be that'd be heaven and hell.
There's a movie came out. The guy died, I think, for 2 weeks, and he said, "What's the name of the movie? There Is a Heaven." Do you know what I'm talking about? Came out recently. He wrote a book.
Who's in it?
Oh no, maybe.
Yeah, the Yellow Book.
Is it the Yellow Book?
The
no,
kid.
No, actually,
Yeah.
it's I'm thinking of the guy that I don't think they made the movie out of yet. It's Proof of Heaven. He died for 2 weeks, and he was a brain surgeon.
Eben Alexander. Yeah, Eben Alexander. If you're interested in that, tune into Dr. Oz on Friday, because I'm on the show, and it's about near-death experiences.
Okay.
It's interesting, the two women I'm talking to, what they saw.
And did they die?
They died for a period of time, and different experiences. One is the more typical. She, she rose above it. She saw what people were doing. Both of them, their lives changed after that. They talk about being in this place of light and divine love. So there's consistency, even with Eben Alexander's book. And I've met him briefly. He's authentic. He's not making this up. He had no agenda. He just he died. And came back because he had a story to tell. And you know what? Where we're living right now, we need to hear these stories, and they need to come, I think, for society to accept these stories. They're starting to come from very credible sources, like a doctor, a professor, because all of a sudden, as Americans, our ears perk up, like a doctor is saying this, that kind of thing. But, the universe is set up so that these things can happen, and more people can have the knowledge and can be healed.
Well, I think it's pretty much 100% of the people that have died and came back were never afraid of dying again.
No, because there is no fear.
And I've never been afraid of dying myself. I've never been afraid of, and I think that's what limits a lot of people in living, is they're afraid of dying.
Well, what limits people in living in general is fear. Everybody can be walking around feeling those on the other side if they weren't afraid of it. Fear is, we've heard it over and over again. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear pushes us away from ourselves and from the source. Whether we think it's God or Sam or whatever the source is, pushes us away from that, So yeah, there is no fear. I have no fear of death based upon what I've seen. Not that I want to die tomorrow. I'd like to see grandchildren and my kids get married and stuff like that, but that's part of me being human. On a soul level, my soul, probably can't wait to get out of this place.
Now, speaking of fear, I believe that we're not born with fear, but we're taught fear. Your mother and father say if you climb that tree, you're going to break your neck. If you run with scissors in your hands, you're going to poke your eyes out. If you don't get married by 30, you'll be an old maid. If you don't go to school, you'll amount to nothing. So we have all this fear. Instead of having a superhighway that's flat, we're traversing our life in a treacherous, mountain, perilous, cliff-ridden road. And because we're all amateurs as parents. Are you a mother?
I have 2 children.
Okay, and you're a blatant amateur when you had your first kid. And my belief is you don't you make less mistakes after your sixth kid. But you were raised by amateurs who were raised by amateurs, because you can read every book on the planet and you're still going to make mistakes, because it's just you have to be a mother to be a mother, right? Become a mother to be a mother.
Well, we're human beings. We got to cut ourselves breaks and our parents breaks. Sometimes fear is born out of love. Sometimes it's born out of control. We come into this world clean slate. The soul is good. And then we go in different directions based upon how we're conditioned and our environment. But we choose our parents, which is interesting. So, whatever they're bringing forward to us is a learning for our soul.
Now, I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
We, as humans, we're using a very low amount of brain power, 3%, 5%. As a medium, do you think you've tapped into more of your brain capacity? Because I know in the future we're going to be levitating, we're going to be communicating without words. What we do it now, you look in your husband's eyes, you know exactly what he's thinking, and that's telecommunication. Do you think I don't know if it's brain power or emotional intelligence.
And I know the two kind of cross over here and there, or it's, everything that, we're multidimensional. So there's, the brain, and then there's the mind that operates kind of outside of the brain in energy, and then there's the soul, which is part of the other two. So, we all have the ability to be intuitive. We all have the ability to see and to feel and to hear, and it might come through differently, but we all have that ability. The muscle has to be exercised in some way, and it requires courage, and that's the big thing, to be able to say, this is who I am, this is who I am as a person, this is who I am as a soul, and no judgment on me, and I don't care if I get judged, and no fear of the unknown, because I know that I'm protected and this is good. And it's all a matter of what you do with it. I'm out here, speaking to people, giving them a glimpse into heaven, into their loved ones, into what's around them, as opposed to using it for, mass destruction. So it's what you do with it as well.
Do you have to be in the presence of someone to feel their soul, or channel them?
No, I read for people all over the world, and I don't. Energy is energy. Energy, goes through space and time.
Can I ask what you're feeling from me? We just met a few minutes ago.
You have a very strong presence of your mother around you. Very, very, very strong. And she wants you to know that she's very proud of you. After all you've been through, she's very proud of you. Life has its ups and downs, but you've navigated quite well. And she's happy, really happy. Did you have a motorcycle at one point?
Yes.
Yeah, she, and this was after she passed, correct?
Everything was after she passed. Both my parents died when I was 9.
Okay, because she's saying during that period of time, you were a little reckless.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
She's saying you were a little reckless during that period of time. But, now, you've settled down and you're viewing the world very differently. You found who you are. Some people never do. You found who you are. She's very proud of you.
Yeah, it was just recently. I had an epiphany. And I'm not sure if I even know how to spell the word, but I don't dream. And I would love to be able to, well, I think we all dream, but we probably just don't remember them. I would love to invent something where you could program a dream for that night. Wouldn't that be ideal? But I had one dream about 5 months ago. I've been married 38 years, and my wife will attest, I've never told her a single dream because I can't remember them. And 6 months ago, I had a dream where I met a guy, and he invited me to church. Now, I'm not a religious man. I've never been to church. Although my foster parents taught me the Lord's Prayer, I never have been to church. And he invited me to church on Sunday. And that Sunday, he didn't show up. And I showed up. And everyone's saying, where is the pastor? And I said, I don't know, I just met him. And so we all decided, in the dream, of course, to go out and find him. Well, I found him, and I said, what happened? I showed up. You didn't show. He says, Monty, I can't take the pressure. Everyone's looking up to me on the pulpit for guidance, support, leadership, and it's too much pressure. I can't do it alone. I said, I got an idea. Why don't I go on stage with you, and I'll talk about being positive, because I'm the professor of positivity as Dr. Fantastic, and I'll talk my experiences about being positive and looking at life in a little different light. And you talk about religion. We'll be a tag team, and together we might do some good. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great dream.
Isn't that a great one?
I think that, you're coupling spirituality into what you've been doing. It's a sign to couple it, get it going in that way. And by the way, I think it's really interesting. You brought up the Lord's Prayer. When I was writing Conversations with Mary, I asked her what, the best religion is. And her answer was, any religion that is of love.
There you
is
go.
no best.
Very nice.
There's many religions that lead you there. And then, she talks about praying a lot in the book, how we should be praying. And I asked her what should be the prayer, and she's like, anything's from your heart. But she's saying, but if I were to give you a prayer, it would be the Lord's Prayer. And if you think of the Lord's Prayer, so, it's a big prayer in Christianity, but it was given by a Jewish man to a large group of Jewish people. The prayer is non-denominational. It's completely he's not saying I am the Messiah in that prayer. He's praying to the Father, Mother, whatever we want to call it, above us. So,
Our Father who art in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, and God doesn't have agenda, obviously. He came because it was a patriarchal society. But yeah, it's a prayer for all people. Like when you're searching for a prayer and you don't feel the words coming, it's a good fallback prayer.
Well, on my shows, on my podcast rather, even on my uplifting interviews with total strangers on YouTube, I don't talk about politics or religion. Okay, because I don't. You may have a political stance, and certainly no one's going to agree with that. And you may have a certain religion, and there's many religions, and not everyone's going to agree with that. But what I'm doing, I'm just talking about being positive. And I don't think there's a soul on the planet that can argue that being positive is not the right path.
I'm sure there are some souls that wouldn't agree with that, but then again, the ones that are bringing it forward and bringing the positivity forward, hopefully it'll be like a domino effect.
Well, I'm looking forward to the person that says negative is better, because that will interest me to know how that person can think like that.
Well, there's evil in the world.
Right.
There is evil.
But they may, a murderer may thinking, because he has this thirst for killing, that he's doing a positive thing in his mind. It's negative to you and I, but he might be thinking that's a positive thing because it's making him feel good. You follow me?
Yeah, I guess you can look at it. Yeah.
But I tell you one thing, the cure to the world's ills is to sit down for dinner every night with your children. I don't think you can raise a murderer by showing love, by sitting with your family each night.
No, and unfortunately, that's not happening.
I know.
A lot in this country.
I know.
So, yeah, we always had dinner with our kids. My kids are in their 20s, and we've always had dinner with them. But, it wasn't always easy with sports and this and that. You have to make it a priority. I grew up in an Italian household where not only did we have dinner every night, but Sunday, the entire family got together.
That's great. My foster dad was Italian.
Yeah, those were good traditions.
Yes. And
that don't exist.
Let's try to. I know they don't exist, and there's no engagement. And that my Be Fantastic movement actually creates engagement because there's so few people out there that are fantastic. Of the thousands of people that I've talked to about this, only 64 to date have ever met someone in their entire life that says they're fantastic when asked how they are. And I've got 1,000 now. My mission is to get to 1 million, and I just think it's my mission. And
good for you.
I'm having the time of my life spreading it. And I'm happy to meet you. I look forward to meeting you next week at the Conscious Life Expo. And perhaps we'll do a little video at that point. But till then, I think you're doing a marvelous thing by spreading your positive thoughts and knowledge. So you've got a great amount of knowledge. And it's just wonderful that you're sharing it with the world.
Yep, I just want the world to smile.
You know what happens when you smile. For those listening that don't, and anyone who's listening to me knows what a smile does. It's probably the healthiest thing you could do for your body and your mind, because it releases endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. And when you say the word fantastic, Anna, you make someone else smile. And I think you make the world a better place when you make someone smile.
Absolutely.
And
spread the love.
So be fantastic, Anna. I don't want to ever hear you say you're good. I'm going to ask you when I see you next time, how are you? If
I'll
I hear
say fantastic.
You better say you're fantastic, girl.
With
Because it's
enthusiasm.
the only way to be. You know where the question came from, right? How are you?
No.
It came from the days of the Black Plague. And no one asked it back then. They shouted it from a distance. How are you? Because you certainly didn't want to get close to someone who had the plague. But today, it's a lame, rhetorical, asinine, excuse my language, question. And, in France, they say bonjour. In Australia, they say g'day. But in America and many, many other countries, everyone is asked every day, how are they? And they always respond good. How are you? And it's just like, it doesn't do anything for you. But say you're fantastic, you smile, they smile, and the world smiles with you. Like Pepsi says, when you smile, the whole world smiles with you.
Well, that is fantastic.
I want you to be fantastic, Anna, and I look forward to meeting you. Have a fantastic day. And don't stress on your trip. Stressing is a negative thought. It's a negative thought. You should
But you know what? Sometimes that fuels me. I'm not stressed. I'm happy.
Good.
And I'm thrilled all these things are going on.
Okay.
Just got to get them done.
There you go. Be fantastic, Anna.
All right, you too.
Thanks for the interview. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.